All right. Panel number 4 coming up. We're going to dive into the world of media and the media landscape. The first person I'm going to bring up here is, I assume he is here. I have not seen, so I might be introduced. The chairman and CEO of the Tennis Channel. Please welcome Ken Solomon to the stage. Is also from Tennis Channel. I've got the SVP and head of production at the Tennis Channel. Put your hands together for Bob Whyley. Next up, the founder of the Dink and Upswing Sports. Thrilled to have Thomas Shields here today. Thomas, welcome. And last and most certainly not least, the founder of Vosburg, Gainor, and Pickleball in the Sun. What's better than that? Say hi to Laura Gainor here, everybody. So, Thomas, you got the Dink started. Why did you choose that name, and how has the Dink evolved from where you started to where you are today?
Great question. So, why did we choose the Dink? Probably because we didn't have many better ideas. I think a lot of people actually often will say to me, it's so cool you built a business around your passion. And that's actually not the case. I wanted to start a side hustle, see if I could flip a business. And my family was becoming obsessed with pickleball at the time. We're a tennis family. We were transitioning to pickleball. So it was proximate. It was relevant. There wasn't a lot of coverage. So we said, all right, let's take a crack at it. And along the way, I became obsessed with pickleball. And then I fell out of love with pickleball. And then I fell back in love with it, and the cycle repeats. When you work in pickleball, sometimes you don't love it as much as you once did. But that was about 3 years ago this month. Since then, we've grown it from a newsletter into 2 newsletters, a news website. We have 3 podcasts within our network now, and a social media presence. We've also started to expand into e-commerce. We've made some investments in tech and apparel, and that's Upswing Sports, our parent company. And it's been a fun ride, just riding the wave like everybody else.
Yeah, and the wave is something else, so we're going to talk to you later about what's working, what's not, and all that. Ken, thrilled to have you here.
Good to see you and everybody. Good to see everyone here. Good morning.
Good afternoon, even.
Good evening.
And yes, the California.
I don't know what day it is. I don't know what city, but I know I'm right
my
here.
California
in the middle of
friend. So Ken, obviously, Tennis Channel has been your baby and has become quite a successful enterprise. I think what this group wants to know is, as Pickleball TV gets launched, and folks, today, Pickleball TV is becoming a thing literally today. So
24/7, 365.
Massive thing. What on earth can we learn from all the years of Tennis Channel that we can put into the sport that this group loves?
Well, Bob Whyley and I and our team made every mistake for pickleball with tennis over the last 20 years to make sure we got all those out of the way so it would be smooth sailing. And it was a pretty crazy idea 20 years ago, the idea of a tennis channel. People looked at you funny and said, a tennis channel? What would you put on it? And how would that'll never work. And, tennis all day long? And what we found is once people came to it and created a destination where anyone in the country knew that they could see, in this case, tennis 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which was a very counterintuitive idea to sports, which is normally a forced scarcity model where you drop your match in the middle of a series of either other sports or general entertainment and hope that people find it once a week. We thought creating destinations would work. And it's been a long fight, and we have the scars to prove it, don't we, Bob? But
we do.
That's not an exaggeration. How it works. They make fun of you, and then they try to kill you. And now we're killing it, I would say. We're sportsmen. We're lovers, not fighters. And a lot of things. But what we do know is what everybody in this room knows, which is that there is a deep passion for this game that is only begun to be sort of introduced to the world, and that even everyone who plays it, there's so much more they want to know. There's so much more they want to be involved with, whether it's their own playing, whether it's watching the greatest players in the world 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, when they want to see it, and exactly how they want to see it, whether it's mobile, whether it's a broad, freely penetrated service like PBTV. It will be ubiquitously available to everyone. So then it's just our job simply to get people hooked. And we know that this game has the ability to do that in a way that nothing in our lifetimes ever has. So I think the real answer is every single thing we did is relatable to the idea of creating a 24/7, truly integrated, that's gobbledygook in the media business usually. Oh, we're going to have a website, we're going to have this, and we're going to have. What our sports, we realized pretty quickly, Bob and our team, is we actually need all of these great technological advancements that they've created in order to be able to tell the full story. It's not a story. You're living in this world. It is a lifestyle, whether you are a fan, a player, or both. And the idea to be able to serve people in this country and to use this platform as a table that every brand in the business can come and put their brand on top of and know that the people know where to find it, which is the real key in the modern media universe. It's just too fractionalized. People can't find anything. Great, there's a $1 million this or whatever that somewhere. That's one day. People have to stop their lives and tune in or, try to record it, if that even is something that exists anymore. Today, in this country, by example, if there's a great tennis match on or coming up, or if you just know there is but you don't know what it is, 98% of the time it will be on Tennis Channel or one of our platforms. That will be even more true for PBTV. And so the access for the person who's been wondering about it, is that any good? I don't know. I've heard about this game, but I don't really get it. Is it really a pro sport? Do you have any? We ask if, I don't know, do you think cornhole will make it on TV? Or, poker or cooking? Why does that work on TV? Pickleball's amazing on television, thanks to all of you and to Bob and to all that we've done together with the PPA and the MLP. So we're pretty excited. We've made a lot of, again, it's not a joke. We made a lot of mistakes and learned how to do it and what not to do. And so this has allowed us to launch this week with a 24-hour channel in tens and tens of millions of homes. We'll be in close to 80+ million homes by the end of the year. That's extraordinary. It took us 15 years to get that done with Tennis Channel, the original Tennis Channel. Now we've got several of them. So
it's awesome, and can't wait to see the evolution of that for sure. So Laura, you've got a dude who says it wasn't his passion project, but now it is to your left. You've got two guys who've been living tennis who've jumped all the way into pickle. You have as well in a different way, and I think what you bring to this, and I'm thrilled to have you here, is what's going on at the grassroots level, what's going on to market the game to the folks playing at their parks, playing in their communities. Your perspective I've loved. We've known each other for a long time. Share what you're seeing out there in the world.
Well, pickleball is my whole life. So I was fortunate. Exactly 4 years ago, I had launched my agency, Gainor, which is now a year after that. I had transitioned it to be the world's first pickleball marketing agency. I knew there was this huge opportunity in the growth, so I made a specific niche for it. 4 years ago, I had brought USA Pickleball on as my first client. I had never heard of the sport before, so I jumped right in, and it was actually incredible to be out there at the USA Pickleball Lounge to see the logo. It was my good friends that I brought in to actually do the USA Pickleball brand relaunch 4 years ago. We did the new logo, new website, and I just kind of jumped right in. It became, again, my whole life. I started playing, and now that you see these entertainment complexes, I had started the Chicago Pickleball Club with my friends, and that's why all of us love this whole sport, because it's community, it's fun, it's social. So this boom of the social club, we're now going to see that here, of course, over the next few years and beyond. And so now, fast forward 4 years, I've just been in this incredible position that I consult brands, other agencies, everyone was kind of asking me, and I kind of took that knowledge of pickleball for granted that I've kind of learned and had over the last 4 years, where I was literally on calls all the time, just kind of educating them in the sport. Who's the PPA Tour? Who's the APP Tour? Who's Major League Pickleball? So actually a year ago, I started this newsletter on LinkedIn that's in my voice, kind of sharing that knowledge, because people, again, just directly reaching out to me. So I do this pickleball newsletter on LinkedIn, and I send it every Friday. I did this morning, so that way we got the live stream details out there, of course, for today's incredible panel. And congrats to PPA, first of all, and USA Pickleball, this whole Pickleball Boulevard, the Pickleball Forum, as Ann said today, this Pickleball Business Forum is just going to continue to grow from here on out, because I've seen it personally, where I think some people even here, they messaged me and said that they were coming to the Pickleball Business Forum because they saw it on my newsletter and kind of wanted just to come out, because everyone's just so eager to learn about the sport and how to sponsor it, how to jump in. So again, I'm just fortunate, and then as I mentioned, it's just kind of my passion as well. I moved to Florida in the midst of the pandemic, moved to a community in Nocatee that we are so fortunate. We live in this master plan community where we have 12 pickleball courts, water parks for my kids. We get around in a golf cart, and so it became this lifestyle where I was playing pickleball every single morning. So that was inspired me to launch the Pickleball in the Sun brand, which is really a lifestyle brand, continuing to evolve, always evolving. Because of course I'm a mom of 2, so I just need to make sure that I'm managing my workload properly. And now I work directly with clients to help them with their consulting, marketing, work with celebrities. We were just out with Katy Perry a couple weeks ago. She had a tournament for her foundation. So I'm just incredibly fortunate. It's just amazing, all the opportunities that I've been brought on to help with as well.
Love it. Yeah, you are dialed in, and we love that. So, Bob, you're the head of production for Tennis Channel. Everyone wants to know, hey, what are you taking from what you learned from tennis? What is the evolution of putting the best foot forward with pickleball? Everybody loves the firefights. How are you getting the passion of pickleball out to that audience, watching on their phone, watching on their smart TV, etc.?
Well, first, I just want to I have been taking a mental snapshot of all of you that I'm looking at, because I would imagine this time next year it'll at least be doubled, maybe tripled. It's a metaphor for how quickly this sport is growing. I don't look at pickleball the same way I look at tennis. So 4 years ago, we had a meeting, and the meeting was, what do we think is going to be the next iteration, or what do we need to do to kind of grow audience, make sure you have positive EBITDA, that kind of thing, and I was all in for pickleball. There was just something about that sport, and even though it wasn't really televised that much, maybe a couple things here and there, the one out in Indian Wells, I thought that that pickleball was going to be huge in this country, and I don't know if it was because of COVID or what, but I mean, it has exploded in the last 2-3 years. I mean, exponentially. So I would imagine there are going to be a lot more people at this meeting making a living on this great sport. So first thing, when it comes to the coverage of the sport, tennis, for years, the game camera is at the end zone, right? And it doesn't move that much, and you don't see anything until usually after the point is done. And you see them in replays. You do cutaway live shots of the players, and then you see the replay of what you just saw, but from a different angle. Pickleball will not work in television if you treat it the same way as tennis with that end zone camera. It just doesn't show the difficulty as well as the fast hands of the sport. So I remember when I've thought to myself, when we actually do this for the first time, I'm going to do this completely different. And so Connor was somebody we ended up partnering with at Orlando probably 2 years ago, maybe 3, Dave? 3 years ago. And so I told Connor, I was like, listen, we're going to do the coverage from a jib camera at the 50-yard line, because most of the action, especially in doubles, and doubles is amazing in this sport, happens right at the kitchen. And so I just think you're going to be able to see the speed, and if we get the right height and the right depth, you're going to really be able to see how difficult and how awesome this is. And some of the points that we've captured from the jib has just been amazing. I mean, the players out there are amazing, and so that's one of the big changes is you can't cover live pickleball like you do tennis, right? And we don't. The other thing to know is that at this event, because we're launching Pickleball TV, we're really going to bring out all of our weaponry. You know, we're going to have 15 cameras, including RF drones. So we're really excited to show off this sport and know that from Ken and myself and all the folks that are part of Tennis Channel, we are all in. We are agnostic, and we are all in on this sport. And, you know, if we can get just, 1% of half of 1% that play pickleball watching it, which we will, I mean, it's going to be a boondoggle. And as Ken says, which I love, 1 + 1 will equal 3, right? Because if Pickleball TV is successful, you all will be more successful. And obviously, we're not just all altruistic by what we're doing, but, you know, a rising tide does what, Ken?
Lifts all ships.
That's another Ken Solomonism.
Stole Ann's line. Ann said that earlier this morning.
And by the way,
yes.
and by the
when
way,
I originally said that back 300, but
real
Bob
quick, Ken.
is-
By the way, I just
Bob-
wanted to give props to this guy too.
Oh,
this
absolutely.
is Dave
Let's hear it for
Fleming.
Dave
Has
Fleming.
been
Come on.
Dave Fleming has been a very pleasant surprise, and that sounds like a backhanded compliment, but it's not, right? When you go into a new product and they don't do much television and they're very new to it, you know, I didn't know how good he is. And Dave, you've done a great job. So Dave is going to be somebody that you're going to see for a long time on our air. Lord willing, he's just killed it. Hannah Johns, Ben's sister, she has done an amazing job teaching herself, you know, because she has done this for a couple years now, how to be sideline and how to do post-match. So the best is yet to come.
I have to add to that, Dave, if it's okay, and hopefully, is this working? Is this all making sense? We are so excited when you say, well, what are the differences? In the tennis world, it was a completely different thing. First of all, no one even knew who we were. We didn't know who we were. But we had a team that stuck together to really try to figure out how to tailor a game that could sort of care less whether or not we were there, believe it or not, into a 24/7, 365, always-on live sports and entertainment media base and channel. That's hard, especially when it's being played all different places simultaneously. There's lots of different courts going on, et cetera, et cetera. But this team, and someday you'll all hopefully pass through our building. It's more than just a building. It's a place that was designed to facilitate the very same types of production challenges that we have with pickleball. Now, we get to work directly with the sport itself, with the benefit of hindsight of all those right and wrong decisions that we made. And, they say it's really true. The wrong ones are we will not go down the rabbit holes of the mistakes we've made. With a building filled with 200 people who go to sleep and wake up thinking about how to make it better and more exciting. And generally, the way sports work is, the sport or whoever it is produces the event. They license it to a broadcaster. Broadcaster pops in, does it, and pops out. And that's kind of it. And they try to hold the sport to task if it doesn't deliver what they think they wanted. We are working together every day to say, on the long tail, where is this going? How big can this be? What are the things that are special and unique about pickleball for television that nothing else does? And Bob and Dave were talking about that jib camera that Bob's talking about floats at the kitchen. In tennis, it is almost impossible for us to get a shot where you have, in doubles or singles, a quick, popcorn at the net, at the net. In pickleball, the ability to get tight on that cat and mouse of when's the trigger going to get pulled, this is fantastic television. It's compelling, engaging, and will draw people in. And we're already, 3/4 of the way past where we were when we started this. It started with tennis. All excited about how to do it special and different. And our view is not to fulfill demand that exists, but to drive and create demand every day through all of the things that we know and do together with everyone in the sport. Everyone in this room works together, considering just the inherent strength that this sport has. People say, what's the secret to the sport? It's the sport. It's the statue is in the stone. And all of us are just chipping it away so that people can see it more clearly, because when they do, we all know it's addictive. It's the most compelling, addictive, inviting, fun thing that's been brought to media, we think, for a long, long time. And we're not here to just do okay. We're here to win.
So, Thomas, how do you use the dink to drive that demand? How do you make the decisions about how do I appeal to someone that want to watch the best players? How do I appeal to the amateur players? How do you structure your ecosystem to fill a lot of different masters, part one? And then secondly, a lot of people here who want to reach the audience that you have that are potentially part of what they want. So how do you make all that work?
My chance to pitch. I like it. Yeah. I think there's a number of different audiences in pickleball, and when we started, we would just cover what I thought was interesting, which was like firefights, right? And to a degree, I think that's been exhausted, and you need to find new ways to shine a light on the sport. We've also sort of transitioned away from only pro coverage, right? So we've started to really lean into more instructional content. Other things like, hey, what paddle should you buy? How do you set up a court in your backyard, right? Kind of the more 101 stuff. Because I think, the broader segment of the market is the casual player, right? It's the grassroots. So, when we started, it was like, let's just cover the pros. Let's just film Ben Johns all the time, right? And now it's evolved into something a little more comprehensive where we can appeal to these different segments within pickleball. So everything from pro coverage to equipment reviews and everything in between. So things have definitely evolved as we've grown.
So what's worked and what hasn't, and how do brands, whether they're entrepreneurial or big brands, what do you recommend they do, whether it's on your platform, on the TV platform? What, from your experience, should they be thinking about?
Yeah, well, if you think from like an e-com perspective, I mean, one of the kind of trending topics is, and one of the things I hear a lot now is you should literally just hire a full-time content creator in-house, right? Like, if you're an e-com brand, you might spend a ton on paid media, and then it becomes, basically, how much are you paying to acquire a customer? But you can offset a lot of that and in many ways have more effective marketing if you just have a content creator in-house creating that compelling content. There's a ton of really great content creators. I think we tweeted the other day that pickleball is one of these weird sports where like the ratio of content creators to players is so high relative to other sports or segments or markets. And that's just because the passion is there. And we've kind of harped on that already today. So I think if you are a brand, figuring out how to create that original content and, getting away from just filming the highlights, which will do well, a great firefight will do well, but more like narrative, storytelling, relatable content, like, memes or skits around, kind of the common things that happen, like the inside jokes of pickleball, if you will, right? Like, I don't know what a good example is off the top of my head, but trying to figure out how to create that organic content that you can then sort of organically, to use that term again, infuse your product into, I think is something that everybody should be thinking about. If you don't have that in-house, you should be partnering with these different content creators or people like us who can help you create those relationships or create the content ourselves, and just create a new way to advertise in a way that actually just appeals to the people who are playing the game.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that a lot today, where we are very into our sport and we protect it, and we want you to be authentic. So if you just show up with your new thing and have a pickleball commercial, we want you to be invested here. And I think a lot of people do have this idea that I have to do it myself. So I hope people are recognizing today that there are a lot of experts out there that can help them, that they don't need to put all the onus on themselves. They might be a great paddle creator, but they don't know anything about marketing. Okay, well, there are people here to help all of you do that. So,
Dave, that's one of the huge mistakes that the tennis world makes. Everybody tries to be a generalist and an expert in everything, whether they're a rights holder, whether they're a federation, whether they're a tournament owner. We're going to have our own website. We're going to have our own magazine. We're going to have our own this. Why? Just do what you do really well and build on the ecosystem of all the talented people who are trying. Find best-of-breed partners, integrate, and scale quickly. Because it's there. No, but everyone in this room knows. Bob said it. You've said it. This has never happened in my lifetime. I've never seen anything that has been as naturally and organically explosive in its growth, in its ability to attract people. It's like one and done. I mean, you get someone. Everyone here knows it. You get someone out there, they're probably hooked. I mean, because at any level that becomes interesting. When you have media assets that are integrated that can touch people without having to actually bring them to the court, and you're continually giving them that. We always felt in tennis, Bob's the master of it. If we could get people who never even watched tennis before, that was our target, the tennis nevers. We figured if we could get them 2 times, we got them. And I mean, Bob, you could tell them about Dave Portnoy at the U.S. Open. This guy who founded, Barstool, who never set foot on a tennis court, and what happened there. That is the apocryphal story, and that's what I think we're all trying to do.
Please tell the story.
Yeah, no, I mean, Dave Portnoy fell in love with Sabalenka because she's a beast. She's #1 in the world, and she's a savage. And he changed his avatar to Sabalenka. Couldn't change it back, but he had this social post on X in the middle of the night, just exacerbated because she came back and won in the most amazing way. And so we had him on the show the next day on TC Live talking about it. But
This is a guy who never, tennis
he's a
was
tennis never.
more, probably closer to a tennis hater, or just didn't consider it in his world. Stumbled into what match he finally got goaded into going into a match at the U.S. Open. Came out and posted that I have seen the greatest competitive fan-based sport to watch in the world.
Sabalenka for life.
Couldn't stop.
SFL.
I mean, and it was her, a woman no less, right?
Love it.
And that he was saying, you've got to watch it, and he was saying you got to bet on it, and where you can do that, that's great too, and just flipped him that quickly. And that's what we're in the business of inoculating people, of creating addicts for this sport, because in the best possible way to make people's lives better and more fun and fulfilling.
It's funny that he brings that up because I texted that some of Portnoy's stuff to Connor Pardo and said, we got to figure out how to make this happen, right? Like how to bring these outsiders into the sport who, when they focus their attention on something, a lot of people move with them, right? It's easier said than done.
But those are the opportunities. And Laura, you see opportunities from a lot of different places. What are small and big brands coming to you to solve, and how are you helping them navigate the pickleball ecosphere?
Yeah, I mean, like Jason said, Nike's just waiting for the opportunity to come in. It's just incredible. So many brands are also, right now they're just getting educated. And we're still at the infancy of the growth. I've been a part of it for the last 4 years, but it's just incredible to see how the brand activations have all changed. And again, that Pickleball Boulevard is perfect. This is pickleball, it's social, it's community, everybody's engaging. It's just a great opportunity for us to kind of have this common interest. And then just those stories, the celebrities, again, they're just really helping to grow the sport. And I just secured this morning my interview of my career is going to be happening in December for Pickleball Magazine for the next cover story. And it's just opportunities like that all these celebrities are just really helping to grow. I had the chance to talk with Maren Morris. Again, it's just taking those opportunities. People are loving the sport. Maren Morris was playing pickleball on tour, so I just reached out to her and I said, hey, we would love to feature you on the cover of Pickleball Magazine. She was having her crew come and set up right next to her tour bus on every single stop, and so I got a chance to talk to Maren, Scott Foster, the head referee for the NBA, right when we hit that COVID, when all the NBA referees were stuck in that NBA bubble in Orlando. I got the chance to talk to Scott Foster. He was teaching everybody how to play pickleball, and again, all those people are now packing their paddles. All those NBA referees are now on tour, and they're packing their paddles wherever they go to all these games to play. And as I mentioned, the Katy Perry, her and her sister play every single Sunday night at the Montecito Club with Orlando Bloom. Orlando and Katy Perry had a tournament for Katie's foundation that her sister runs, the Firework Foundation. So I got the opportunity to go out to Santa Barbara, and again, it's just connecting it to her foundation. It is incredible. It's helping these kids that are living in underserved communities that get to have these camp fireworks and this pickleball tournament that we went with one of my clients. Again, it's, as Carl said, I think that there's more than 600 padding manufacturers, apparel is coming in. I'm very fortunate through this newsletter that I mentioned, just the opportunities I've gotten with brands. I'm now working with the former owner of Jansport that's now launching a pickleball apparel brand that actually is going to be for pickleball players, actually talking with pro players, recreational players, what makes the perfect pickleball apparel, because again, with tennis, it's not having a tennis ball in our pocket. You know, we need apparel for all of you, for the players that you want to work with. So again, it's just amazing the opportunities that I've been given. I feel very, very fortunate that I got into this sport 4 years ago, and it's just, I'm very blessed to be able to meet so many people, talking to all these brands, clients, and as I mentioned, when I talked to clients, I realized it was all knowledge I was kind of taking for granted to help these brands. So, but yeah, so I'm just always happy to talk to everybody and just kind of hear all these fun new ideas and how everybody's getting in. But as you said, make sure that you're kind of working with people that really understand the sport, because it's, and to have build that team as well, because I know the PPA Tour is doing a great job of building your team to make sure you can keep up with this growth and the demand. USA Pickleball was doing the same, but you need people that understand the sport, they're working on your team to make sure it has that authentic content and be able to speak that brand voice. You can tell when someone's not a pickleball player when they're talking on air or in their social media content. So of course, having all these experts, and Dave is the best commentator, of course, and all of his fun cues on air. It's been fun to just watch all this whole media landscape grow over the last 4 years. And of course, again, the live stream with Pickleball TV 24/7, featuring that celebrity showdown tonight as well.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, and I think that's the thing to remind everyone, that there are people that have been down the road. So if you're, depending on where your journey is, you have people that can help elevate what you have.
You can
just
find them on
have to-
Pickleball Boulevard.
Yeah, literally. I mean, it's the boulevard of dreams out there. Go fulfill your dreams out there, everybody.
Hey, hopefully the Boulevard, not a broken dream. So unless
Exactly.
you went out early. One thing that we learned in tennis, it's probably a good lesson, and just to think about, I'm sure many are here, is there's sort of this low-hanging fruit of, you've got a brand, if you're looking for sponsorship, right, to elevate the sport. You've got the low-hanging fruit of either someone who's an endemic, because whether they're actually an equipment manufacturer, something that's very, very directly and obviously relevant to the sport, and they're kind of easy to get into the fold. But what's so magic about these sports is that the clientele, first of all, they're dual gender sports, genuinely. And we never thought we'd have something that's even more dual gender than tennis. And tennis certainly on court makes the idea of mixed doubles even more real. Pickleball does than tennis, which I don't know that we ever thought we'd see. So you have a unicorn in the world of media and sponsorship, where you have all the power of sports, which dominates everything when it comes to advertising and sponsorship. And yet, instead of just selling a male audience, you have the ability to sell an adult audience. And if you're in the parlance of media, it's an adult 18 to 49, 25 to 54 audience. It can be younger, it can be older, but that sweet spot is hit equally between male and female viewership. Nobody else has that. You're not, and they'll put the thumb on the scale and say, oh, well, our work with the NFL and all the rest, and we're not going to be taking the NFL down. That's not our job. But the ability to reach for marketers an audience that is as affluent, forward-thinking, healthy, fit. They travel more than anyone else in the world. They have more disposable income as a rule. This is not to the exclusion of people who make a little less, but you have literally the golden audience available at your disposal with something that people are so curious about, whether they know anything about it or not, that you're in a moment to really take advantage. The second is the less obvious sponsor. The big luxury manufacturers and travel, when you realize the purity of the audience, which we will be doing our part to help deliver in scale, globally, certainly nationally first. We're already making plans. This is happening globally, as some of you know, and I think it's going to be, there'll be a lot of other languages being spoken in this room too. You have an opportunity to reach, pickleball becomes a preferencing tool, not just the obvious place where someone who's, needless to say, somebody's in the equipment business or even in the sports business overall, or the sports athletic wear business goes. But somewhere where a banking partner goes, someone where a particular type of services partner goes, where they can't get the kind of audience that that you deliver now and will be delivering every day, 24 hours a day, and spinning up, and they'll be then going online, and they'll be creating different integrated partnerships. We got a green field here right now. Everybody in this room has a Wonka bar. It's a really exciting moment, and it doesn't happen very often, I promise you that.
I love me a Wonka bar. Let's go, Ken. That's beautiful. So, Bob, I think a lot of people don't recognize sort of the process of how pickleball is televised, how it works. A lot of people see me and go, wait, I haven't seen you. I've heard your voice all year, but how we aren't necessarily courtside. That may change down the road, but where are we today? How are you using your phenomenal Tennis Channel facilities, and where's this going down the road as this channel expands?
Great. Well, you heard Ken mention international, but this is real. I mean, Pickleball TV will be an international platform. So think about that with all the things that you do. It's exciting. We're not leasing a product like we do with tennis or the NBA or basketball, and you have rights restrictions in territories, things like that. Pickleball TV and the product of what we do will be seen everywhere. So thanks for bringing that up, Ken. We do something that's very state-of-the-art with pickleball. We produce everything back in our 2110 facility in Santa Monica, California, and 2110 is just the terminology used for how something is ingested, received with video and audio, but it's just Ethernet. Back in the day, you'd have some type of duax or triax cables, and that's all gone. So we're in a state-of-the-art facility, and then what we do is when we come to a venue like this, we just have to have the right amount of bandwidth, whether it's 200 megs or a gig, and then we put every single isolated feed into this bandwidth. It gets interpolated, spit out at our production control room in Santa Monica, and we literally produce from there. We do replays from there. We add the graphics, the storytelling, the studio insertion. Everything is done back in Santa Monica. You're not going to see an uplink truck. You're not going to see a TV truck here. We have some type of hub that takes everything in, but that's how we do it. And right now, somebody like Dave Fleming, because we're new at all this, right? This is a new sport, and as Ken likes to say, if something doesn't work, it's okay. We'll change it. And that's a lot of freedom when that's coming from the top. But right now, let's just say Michelle McMahon and Dave Fleming are going to be calling a match. They're going to be doing it from this hub unit that we have because they have a multi-screen up there. And it just, in the early stages, it's easier for us to communicate with them. And so they're literally seeing everything that's going on, not just program, but the isolated cameras so they can get a better look and feel, right? And then we'll have Hannah Johns or Cameron Blackwood on the court, doing sideline. At this particular event, not only are we going to do what we've been doing and plus it up with the amount of cameras and the coverage that we're doing, we're going to have a desk here. So I would imagine Laura and I know Thomas, we're going to invite them to the desk and we're going to talk to them about the things that we do. We'll bring players over to the desk as well. So we're not starting from scratch. We're starting with 20 years of experience. When I left Fox to join and to launch Tennis Channel, I was kind of made fun of. Tennis Channel, you guys aren't even going to be on analog cable, said the guy who ended up launching NFL Network. He's gone, and who knows what's going on with the NFL Network. But it's a great property. It's a great thing, but we're still here, and we're doing just fine. And then the other thing, too, when Ken brought up the U.S. Open, in 2003, at the U.S. Open, we had badges that said NR, bold, on it, and that was non-rights holder, right? So the sport didn't embrace us. It took,
A couple of years later, we were live in prime time.
Yeah. It took somebody like, with Ken and his amazing skill sets to kind of break down those walls. We're not there at pickleball. We're coming to a sport where we have 20 years of experience of doing a product that people love, and we're doing it with people that we're in harmony with, and I don't mean holding hands. I mean, the blending of voices. So with folks like Dave and Tom Dundon and Connor and the folks with MLP, we're in harmony with them, and so we are in it to win it together. And we're going to make sense of a very big, cumbersome schedule, right? There are going to be a lot of events next year. Obviously, I'll let the PPA and MLP announce that, but we're going to be at all of them, and we're going to make sense of why this particular event in January makes sense to why the USA Nationals, the San Clemente in December. That's what we're going to be here for.
Dave, if I could just add one more thing to that, and that's an important thing to remember as you go about thinking about how you're going to build into this. We are about maximizing the sport and getting the most people to be able to enjoy it the longest they possibly can through the most insidious way possible by entertaining the hell out of them. And so one thing that I would urge everybody in this room to do is to not pattern yourself after other sports in the way that you approach how you do your business. Because tennis was very different. Sports is a forced scarcity model as a rule, right? There's a couple of games, there's a game a week per team, kind of more or less, for a short period of the year, and there's a reason why there's not more. Because they can say, tune in to this 1 3-hour block and try to build the Tower of Babel every time and just hang everything else off it. The beauty of what we realize, the beauty of tennis and now pickleball, which are unique in this regard, is the continuity, is the ability for a fan, whenever they want to go to it, and it will be there in some form or fashion, either live or live enough. When we say live enough, it's not like, so it's not quite live. No one can watch all of it all the time. But if it's something that happened in the relatively recent past, right, if this is a current match, right, between the Johns brothers or whoever it is, or a mixed double, it's news. And it's something that I want to see, that I want to plug into in a world that I care about. So when Bob thinks about deploying, and I'll probably regret saying this, but you're all invited out to California to come see the building. You should do it.
You heard him. Okay.
You should do it. And because it's not your father's Oldsmobile. We literally built with the greatest technologists, broadcast technologists in the world. He built, and his team. And Gensler, who's also designing the 100-mile city in Saudi Arabia. They're the best architects, visionary architects in the world. A 70,000 square foot machine that can process as many courts as you can throw at us from anywhere in the world simultaneously, live in real time. Bring it all in, make it all pretty, put the context behind everything that's happening with every single one of those matches. And then if we do our jobs right, put each one on the appropriate platform and let you as a viewer know without any friction where they all are. So that you don't have to be walking around checking the box score, the website. You'll be on the dink, right? But you won't, you can just know that if you go there, you will be seeing the most important things going on in the world. At that moment, on these platforms, we're there for you to make it easy for you, the fan. All the time, 24/7, 365. And that is a breakthrough, as opposed to sports, which the traditional sports, which I spent a lifetime in and many of you have, which is get everybody to show up when we tell them to for 3 hours and then do it again. And they do. Imagine when we can say, you can come here and turn it on and just leave it on. And that is what people do. And this sport can win because of those unique attributes.
Yeah, can't wait to see it. It's so exciting. Laura, last call for you. How do these folks take advantage of this sport, and how do they use you or others to differentiate what they've got in the marketplace through media like your newsletter or other things? What's one thing that they should all take away from here?
I think definitely, it's all about being authentic. And as I mentioned, I have my Pickleball marketing newsletter, which you can connect with me, Laura Gainor, on LinkedIn. Subscribe to that newsletter. I'd love to share it. Utilize all these people. Again, we're at the infancy of the growth. There's so much opportunity to come, and I know Thomas with the Dink has so many like popular stories on the Dink where you're all consuming this content. We all love the sport, and everybody's again just starting to get to know all these pro players. They're all starting to make a brand for themselves. There's a new wave of players all coming in. My daughter's playing right now in her PE class, so it's all going to change. It's all going to shift. So everyone do it all together, all media platforms. I mean, there's just so many great. Let's all get together and do it together is just huge. So we can all have the one common goal of continuing to grow the sport and making sure that all these professional players can make a living off of it. All these brands can come in and succeed. So yes, please do message me, say hello. I would love to continue all conversations.
Thomas, where's this going? Last call for you.
All right, let me take a second to shamelessly pitch something. We are having an event on Richard Branson's private island. It's called the Necker Pickleball Forum. If you'd like to get involved, reach out. Whether you want to attend for a week in a villa with Richard Branson playing pickleball, live performances, or you'd like to get involved from a sponsorship standpoint, it's going to be a really cool event, something that nobody's done before, and we'd love to work with anybody who's interested. And so forgive me for the sales pitch, but if you give me the floor, I'm going to take advantage.
It's all good. You've done a lot for the sport, so I can give you 30 seconds there, Thomas, for that. This is exciting for me, obviously, and I appreciate the kind words from you guys to be one of the people that's getting to voice where this is going. But, folks, this takes all of us, and I think, you've heard these guys talk about authenticity and collaboration and all of us recognizing how we can all pull this forward. So your opportunities within the network that's launching today, within what Thomas and Laura are doing, are immense. I think the challenge for you is how creative can you be, how differentiated can be, and as we've said up here today, how Ken said he's made a bunch of errors. We've all made a bunch of errors, but you have to try, and I think that's the thing that launching a pickleball channel shows, that we're going for it as a collective here, and this was a really fun panel. So thank you guys so much for being here. Give it up for Ken, Laura, Thomas, and Bob.
And Dave.
Thanks, sir.